resources. That's very important, and we need more. Better use of our mining potential. But we need to invest more in agriculture, particularly small-scale agriculture, because without it, there will not be inclusive growth, and therefore there will not be social peace to get us through this economic transition. And we also need to invest in manufacturers. Thank you.
So infrastructure, education, manufacture, and trade, of course. Prime Minister Odinga, I visited a school with you many years ago in Kibera when you had put 1 million children into school by making education free. So education is a very important part of your agenda as well.
Yes, Gordon, thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here to join this very distinguished panel. Gordon, I think first we begin by saying that the transition to transformation in Africa is a very interesting subject. And first we begin by talking about inclusivity, because when we're talking about sustainable growth and development of the continent, and this requires to involve more people. So African democracy is actually now on course, and there are resistances and pockets of resistance here and there. But by and large, I think that a lot of progress has been made. And also the Arab Spring lesson is coming down south very fast. Now, we want first to ensure that we have democratic constitutions, that people accept democratic governance. That is important. Our population is fairly young, and we can actually benefit from demographic dividends by empowering this young population. And that's why we are talking about manpower development. Education, quality education, that is from primary, secondary, vocational training, university and technical colleges, as well as research and development generally. We need to invest there, because if we do this, then we can create skilled manpower that will be attractive to investors. And that, in our view, is how China and India have moved on, because they have become very attractive to investments. You've got highly skilled manpower, but which is also cheap and competitive. This, in our view, is very, very crucial and important. The other factor that one wants to flag here is transformation from dependence on commodity trade to more science and technology-based economy. A number of our economies are still fairly dependent on commodity trade. This, in my view, is not sustainable. So we therefore need to move towards adopting more technology in our development, value addition to goods that are produced in our countries. Here, we are leading by example in Kenya. As you know that we have been doing quite a lot of development and research. For example, in telecommunications area, we have led the world by the invention of money transfer through mobile phones. So, and this is making business much more efficient in our country. And it's an example that is now being emulated in India and other countries, what we call M-Pesa, to transfer money through using mobile phones, and several others. So we really want to see inventions coming from Africa, coming out of Africa. Therefore, we should promote research and development generally. Finally, infrastructure. I've talked about social infrastructure, physical infrastructure that will help us to integrate the African continent. Investment in roads, in ports, in railways, which will then make the intra-African trade more viable. See, intra-African trade is still negligible. If you look at Europe, Europe trades more with itself than with the rest of the world. Africa can also trade more with itself. Africa is looking more and more to the north rather than to itself, yet African market is big. So we need to invest also in physical infrastructure first so that we can promote intra-African trade.
So diversification, infrastructure, the common market, internal trade. President Kikwete,
yeah.
I pass on to you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, moderator, Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Well, indeed, the subject for discussion here is Africa transition and transformation. Well, indeed, one can say that there is transformation taking place in Africa. There is a lot of ample evidence to that fact. When you look at the socio-economic life of our people and our nations, in education, in healthcare, in infrastructure development, in agriculture, in manufacturing, and so forth and so on. But much more needs to be done. This is the bottom line. Because there are times when Africa is portrayed as if there is nothing happening, but I would say the contrary. There is a lot of happening. But much more needs to be done. And why? Because we are starting from very low levels of development. At independence 50 years ago, Tanzania, the GDP per capita was $35. There were only 3 tarmac roads, the length of less than 190 kilometers. And we are a country with 85,000 kilometers of roads network. So we're starting from very low levels of development. Diseases, deprivations of all sorts of, we're plenty. But also we are part of the global economy. So whatever is happening in some parts of the world definitely affects us. A few years ago, we had the global economic financial crisis, and we had reversals to our growth. Now we have a lot of anxiety with the Eurozone crisis. I hope it's going to be fixed quickly, so that if it doesn't, then there is going to be many problems. There is evidence of growth, high levels of growth. I think this is the fastest growing continent now. But the dangers are still there. So what more needs to be done, to be very precise? In my view, one, Africa must stay the course in pursuit of sound economic policies. Because it is these sound economic policies which has enabled many of our countries to attain macroeconomic stability. High, low inflation rates, high levels of growth. So we should stay the course in pursuit of sound economic policies. We should invest more in education, primary, secondary, tertiary, technical training, in order to build the human resource. Because at the end of the day, it is the man or woman who is going to make things happening and not the machines. You can have the machines. If you don't have the competent people to use the machines, then nothing can happen. So education is critical for us as a major investment. We should invest more in the transformation of agriculture. To me, agriculture is a priority because 70 to 80% of our people live in rural areas, and agriculture is their mainstay. But it is subsistence agriculture. People live from hand to mouth. They cannot feed themselves. They don't have enough cash crops to be able to earn more to transform their lives, make their life better. We need to develop the manufacturing sector. We cannot continue to be primary producers. Produce raw materials for the others to go and make goods, finished goods, and then come back. I was saying my late professor of economics at the university who taught me, he used to have a good phrase that we produce what we don't consume and consume what we don't produce. we produce for the others so that the others produce for us to consume. This thing cannot continue. So that's why ensuring that the manufacturing sector is growing fast in Africa is also critical. We have abundant resources, mineral resources, agricultural resources, natural resources, but what is lacking is a vibrant manufacturing sector, which Africa should also look at. And in any case, economies transit from being predominantly agricultural, then they go to the manufacturing, and then they go to the service sector becoming the predominant ones. So this is another important aspect. We have to develop the infrastructure. Well, as I'm saying, we had only three roads in the country with a demand of 85,000 square kilometers of roads. Without roads, there is no development. There is no development without electricity. There is no development without telecommunications. Africa cannot continue to be left behind in the digital divide. Definitely, we have to catch up. The other thing is regional integration. If we say we are going to produce more from agriculture, produce more from manufacturing, definitely markets are essential. The regional markets, but also the international markets. For regional markets, of course, the regional economic groupings are an important factor. This is a song now in the whole of the African continent. There are regional economic groupings everywhere, and we are continuously strengthening them. We are now looking at even merging them. In July, we had a meeting in South Africa where we discussed creating a grand free trade area, bringing together Southern Africa Development Community, the East African Community, and Common Market for Southern and Central Africa, from Cape to Cairo. I was saying in Addis Ababa, in South Africa the other day, C.C. John Rhodes, the colonist, talked of the Great North Road from Cape to Cairo, but this was for colonial purposes. We are doing it now for our own good. This is an aspect. But also at the international level, now we need access to markets. That's why to us in Africa, early conclusion of Doha development agenda, the round is so critical, so that we can open up these markets, remove trade distorting subsidies in the developed countries, so that we can have access to the market. I can say that for the beginning, since it's going to, let me say that to start with.
Thank you very much. And President Condé, resources in Africa, very resource rich. Are resources being or could be far better used? President Condé.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le modérateur. C'est la première fois que la Guinée assiste à une telle réunion, parce que pendant des dizaines d'années, on a connu la dictature. Je suis le premier président démocratiquement élu. Et moi, je vais surtout parler de la Nouvelle Afrique. Je crois que la première chose la plus importante, c'est d'abord de changer la vision que le monde extérieur a de l'Afrique. On parle de l'Afrique, des guerres, du sida, etc. Il faut qu'on montre qu'il y a aujourd'hui une nouvelle Afrique où la démocratie avance, où la jeunesse constitue plus de 70%. Mais le plus important aussi, c'est qu'il faut que nous, les leaders africains, nous changeons. Le plus fondamental, c'est ça. C'est-à-dire que nous n'arrivons pas à changer parce que nous restons enfermés dans nos frontières, dans nos petits égoïsmes, et nous ne voyons pas qu'est-ce qui est l'essentiel. Nous n'étudions pas l'expérience des autres pays. Lorsque nous étudions l'exemple des autres pays, nous voyons que l'Union européenne a commencé par charbon-acier, c'est-à-dire, au fond, quels étaient les besoins essentiels. Les besoins essentiels en Afrique aujourd'hui, c'est l'énergie, c'est les infrastructures, c'est le commerce interne. Or, lorsque nous, ensuite, le respect de soi-même. Lorsque l'Union européenne convoque une réunion à 9h, tout le monde est là à 9h, et jusqu'à la fin. Nous, quand on convoque une réunion de l'Union africaine à 9h, on commence à midi, certains viennent à midi, partent à 13h. C'est-à-dire, au fond, nous ne posons pas au niveau de l'Union africaine des véritables problèmes. Aujourd'hui, si nous voulons avancer, nous devons mettre en avant nos capacités. Si nous nous mettons d'accord aujourd'hui, en très peu de temps, nous pouvons avoir l'énergie. Il suffit seulement qu'on se mette d'accord pour faire